It's time to go behind the curtain and discover the soul of the Democratic Party.
That was part of the teaser trailer for the movie that is now in theaters, one of the top 10 ever documentaries. It's called Hillary's America, The Secret History of the Democratic Party. And the creator of that film joins me now, my friend Dinesh D'Souza. Welcome to America Trends. Good to have you.
It's a pleasure. Great to be on the show.
Dinesh, I've been watching your work a long time. This is most definitely the most in your face you've ever been in one of your films. You've already grappled with this administration and the long arm, as you might want to say, of this administration. Are you afraid?
No, it's true that I made the movie about Obama 4 years ago, and then shortly after the movie came out, well, Obama was railing against it on his website, barackobama.com, and then the FBI came knocking on my door a few weeks later. They got me on a technical violation of the campaign finance law. I ended up doing 8 months in overnight confinement at a federal facility under the supervision of the Bureau of Prisons of the Obama administration. But look, that only widened my horizon. It kind of fired me up. It annoyed me because no person in American history has been locked up for doing what I did. So it fired me up. I learned some things, and I applied that knowledge to the sort of criminal racket that the Clintons are running. So in some ways, it was a blessing in disguise. Weird though it may be to say that.
A lot has been said about Hillary. A lot has been written about Hillary. And most people know that she has participated in criminal acts throughout her husband's career and her own that she never seems to be punished for. But what point were you trying to make through this film that you thought Americans needed to know that was different?
Well, this is a movie that's not just about Hillary. It's also a secret history of progressivism and of the Democratic Party. The movie kind of strikes right at the heart of the Democratic Party's claim to rule. The Democrats are making kind of a moral claim. They're saying we have always been, and we are now, the party of the ordinary guy, of the little guy. We have always fought for women's rights and women's suffrage, for minorities, for immigrants, for blacks. Now, nothing could be further from the truth. In reality, the Democratic Party is the party of Indian relocation and the Trail of Tears. It's the party of slavery, of segregation, of Jim Crow, of lynching, of the Ku Klux Klan. The Democrats had a lot of sympathy for fascism and even Nazism in the 1930s. They are the ones who interned the Japanese Americans after World War II. So these are people who have not only been not only implicated, but the perpetrators of some of the vilest acts in American history. Mm-hmm. So what the movie does is it shows the criminal rackets of the Democratic Party, beginning with Andrew Jackson, continuing through the 20th century, and culminating in maybe the worst example of the lot, which is Hillary Clinton.
It seems so. My background's in psychology, Dinesh, and one of the things that I love about what you pointed out in this film is the interesting psychology between Bill and Hillary. Can you explain that?
Yeah, many people think that Bill is the philanderer and Hillary is the kind of long-suffering wife. This is what she got, so she's made the best of it, so you can't really blame her. But the reality is not like that. Hillary, from a young age, realized that she did not have the political skills that were required to take her all the way. She needed, if you will, a pitchman, and she found one in Bill. Now, the problem was, how do you keep Bill attached to her for the long haul? I mean, Bill's the kind of guy who he might want to be with you, but then 15 minutes later, he's off with somebody else.
Yep.
So Hillary figured out a scheme. She realized, look, Bill is kind of a sex addict. At times, he might cross the line into sex abuse. So what if I make myself his fixer, his enabler? What if I go after the women if they ever turn up to accuse him and challenge him? I'll be the one who protects him. In a sense, I'm the one who allows him to be the addict that he is. And this way, he'll become psychologically dependent on me. And wow, when you look at Bill doing that sickening performance at the Democratic National Convention where he gave this kind of fake Rapunzel story about him and Hillary and how beautiful, you know, if we were born yesterday or came from Mars, we might believe it. But living through the 90s as we did, I think we could all see through this. So the movie is not afraid to tackle these kinds of issues. and neither is my accompanying book of the same title. We blow the whistle on the Clintons, including the sick arrangement called the Clinton marriage.
But here's the thing, Dinesh. You were at the DNC. You saw the people who buy into this fantasy, Dinesh. Is there any getting through to them? And secondly, I hope that you have lots of stories. I'd love to know how many stories of people who did buy into that fantasy, saw your movie, and have turned. And do you think there's time to get this to enough people to maybe change the election?
The Democrats have been running these, I would call them urban plantations. They've taken the old rural slave plantations and recreated them. Many of the same elements on the old slave plantation, ramshackle dwellings, broken families, a high degree of violence necessary to hold the place together. Everybody gets a meager provision, but no one gets ahead. You see this not only on the old slave plantations, you see it in inner city Oakland and Baltimore. You could see it in Philadelphia, just a mile away from the ritzy convention center. So while I was walking around the Democratic convention, it looked to me like this was like a meeting of plantation overseers. All these ridiculously self-important people with name tags, basically talking about all the plantations they run. So look, I'm not trying to convince those guys. You can't convince them. I'm trying to unify and fire up Republicans. I'm trying to convince independents and fair-minded people in the middle. I do think that if most blacks and Hispanics and young people saw this movie, they'd be totally blown away because it would discombobulate the narrative that they have been sold through Hollywood, through the media, and through academia by progressivism over a whole generation.
This movie has done extremely well. I have to imagine even you were surprised, at least I would be, if I'd created something that has done this well. Tell us how it's done. It's in theaters now. Tell everybody where they can learn more about it, where they can see it, and go ahead. This is your moment. Brag for us. We want to hear all about your success.
Well, the movie is in 1,000 theaters around the country. The website is HillariesAmericaTheMovie.com, HillariesAmericaTheMovie.com. It's playing all over San Diego. You can enter your zip code, and it'll tell you where the movie is playing near you. I'm excited to say the movie is the top documentary of the year. It's in the top 10 political documentaries of all time. Now, Michael Moore has been the king of this genre, and of the top 10 political movies, he's made 5. But it's out of 15 movies. I have 3 in the top 10, and I've only made 3 movies.
It's pretty darn impressive, Dinesh. What do you say to people who say, you're risking your life and we need you? Maybe you shouldn't have gone so hard on this one. We're almost out of time, but I want to hear.
Well, I would say that if the producer, writer, and narrator of the movie called Hillary's America were to suddenly disappear, I can only think of one suspect, right?
Yeah, there you go. At least you got that one suspect you can identify. Dinesh D'Souza, thank you so much for being with us. Get into your theater right now and see it. It makes a difference. If you see it now, it'll stay in theaters longer. I want you to know that. And the movie, Hillary's America, you can find it in our Twitter feed. We'll be back in a moment with more America Trends.